Welcome to coding section. We've been building this fighting game and so far we have moved from the blank Flutter project to the current state where the user can control the player using their own custom controls. For this video, we'll be making the player deal damage to the opponent. For this, we would have to learn about collisions and hitboxes. Also, for the first time, we'll be drawing on the canvas. This would allow us build our own health bar for the player opponent. So we're going to learn a couple of new things in this video and I hope you are ready. So let's start coding. After our last update, the player can move and perform actions, but the opponent is not affected by any of these actions. To fix this, we need to know when the player collides with another opponent on the game. The first step is to set the HasCollisionDetection in the game. This allows the game to support collision detection. And within the game, we'll add the CollisionCallbacks mixin on our player component. This gives us access to some useful functions like onCollisionStart and onCollisionEnd. But after this, the collision doesn't start working right away. We need to define the borders around the player where this collision would actually occur. We will do this using the hitbox. By creating a rectangle hitbox and giving it the same size and anchor as our sprite, I'm able to add this. To see the changes, I'll set the debug mode to true. This shows the boundaries and positions of all the components in the current game component we're working on. This border is actually too light, so I would create a normal rectangle around the player.
Something is obviously bothering you. Suddenly you're Mr. Distant.
Once I set the color to red and the painting style to stroke, we can see the boundary of our collisions. This rectangle is the same size and position as our hitbox. If we move around with our player, we notice that if we flip the player direction, the hitbox doesn't change its direction. So I'll create a function to flip the direction as well as the direction of the hitbox and the rectangle. I'll then replace all the instances where we flip the sprite with this function we created. When I get to the other player and perform the attack, the rectangle stays the same and does not increase based on the attack. To fix this, within the update function, I would have a function that updates boundaries. This is going to update the boundaries of our hitbox along with the sprite. Within this function, I will update the position, size and anchor of the hitbox and rectangle using the values that are gotten from the sprite animation. With this, our user now collides with the opponent, and this works for other players too. Then within the onCollisionStart, we check if the collision is from a player character object. To decide which player to receive the attack, we check which of them is actually attacking. Within the character state enum, we will set a boolean called isAttacking to check if the user is attacking. Then, we will check if one player is attacking and the other is not, and then call a function to take damage.
Obviously bothering you.
Let's create the take damage function. I'll add a variable called life to store the health of the user. Then within the take damage function, we reduce the life variable of the opponent and change the state to a hotting state. Each attack has specific damage they inflict, so we set the attack power from the user stats. We would have to add a function to get the attack power. When we attack the opponent, the character reacts to this attack, but the player stays at the same position. They should be able to slide back while they are being attacked. For this, we would have a function called slideback, which pushes the player backwards. So within the collision, we slide the user backwards while they are colliding with the attack sprite. And if both players are attacking at the same time, push both players back. Once this is complete, the next thing we have to build is the health bar for the player. Under the components folder, we would have a health bar component. This is going to be a position component. And for now, let's add this to the game so we can see any changes that occur. To build this component, we'll be using the render function. This allows us to draw our own shapes on the game component, and all the shapes are drawn on the canvas. First, we'll draw a gray rectangle.
Suddenly you're Mr. Distant.
Let me align this rectangle to the appropriate size of the screen. I cannot use the size of this component because it has not been set. So going back to the health bar, I would add the size to the constructor. With this, we can adjust the rectangles however we want. I'll add another rectangle to depict the current health. Using the health percentage, we would adjust the width of the rectangle to be relative to the total width of the health bar. Next, I'll have a border on this rectangle so it is different from the background. One other thing to set is the direction of the health bar. The health bar on the right would reduce in the opposite direction to the health bar on the left. One addition to the health bar would be to change the color when the health bar reduces. We can replace the static value with the player life and test out the health bar. The last feature we'll be adding in this video is the power up indicator. This would show the status of the power up and would slowly run down when the user uses it. The power up width and height would be a fraction of the health bar, and then we would use this value to draw the rectangle. Doing something similar, we would have a background rectangle. And then the value and the border. The color would be a light green, and that looks better. In the player character class, we would need to know the duration of the power up so we can decrease the value. Then, when the component loads, we can set the power up duration. Then in the update function, we check if the user has used their power up and then decrease the power up duration. If the duration reaches 0, we turn off the power up value. Let's move this to our own function called update power up.
Something is obviously bothering you. Suddenly you're Mr. Distant.
Say you're sorry, darling. Say it's all your fault. Say you miss me and you wish that you answered my calls. Say you're not done falling. Say our love.
We can go back to the health bar component and get the power up variables. When we test this out, it works as planned. One addition I want to have here is the ability to increase power up when the user attacks their opponent. So within the onCollisionStart, I'll use a function called inflict damage. And within the function, we increase the power up duration using a fraction of the attack power.
Say it's all your fault. Say you miss me and you wish that you answered my call.
So this is how you add health bar in your Flame game. I hope you guys have been able to follow up with the explanation. I know it's been quite a lot. And depending on the setup of your game, the architecture can get very complex. Well, that's enough talk from me. I hope to see you guys again in the next one. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'll be glad if you did. And have a nice day.